So, one like little point to get across is that you never ever jump straight to code. You always do a wireframe or a layout of what your website's going to look like. Make sure it's right. Get like all the fonts and styling. Make sure the feel is there, and then start the coding. Because if you code it, it takes a while to position everything, and then let's say you don't like a certain thing, it takes a lot longer to change it in code than it does in this drag and drop interface. So I highly recommend draw.io. And the cool thing is you could share this among other people. So if you guys wanted to collaborate in this, you can add stuff and drag and drop, and it's like a Google Doc for like wireframes. So it's really great, highly recommended, and we'll get into that later when we make like the TV app and stuff like that. Let's see, I wanted to add some of the projects on our github.io site. We'll get into GitHub a little bit later, but for instance, like this TV app, we did it in a draw.io. We all like said, hey, this is what we want, and so on. So really good for collaborations. All right, questions. Cool. So never jump straight to code, ever. Even in a programming interview, if they ask you to solve like a programming problem, like tell me whether or not a word is a palindrome. A palindrome is just a word that's spelled the same forward and backward, like race car, mom, and so on. So those, you never jump straight to code, ever. I know it might be your first instinct, but don't ever jump straight to code. Always think about the every step of the way. All right. So let's make a hummus bar website using Bootstrap. So let's check out Bootstrap and bootstrap.com. Okay. Bootstrap. All right. So everyone understand the whole grid, how the grid works, right? That's very important. How everything's rows and columns, and then while we revisit that. So, and now that I have my nice little template, I can just copy paste and we're off to the races. Template, duplicate, and hummus bar LA. Awesome. So we have our awesome little website. Does anyone remember what that icon is called up there? Yeah, favicon. I always called it favicon forever. Let's go to the noun project. Let's see if they have hummus. That is very impressive. I'm done. All right. So, have I showed you guys how to use an icon from the noun project? Once? Okay. So, you'd have to basically say that you are taking this from a certain place. So I'm going to add an IMG folder here, and then snag this guy here. Yep. Got it. Yeah, $10 a month. Oh, that was for unlimited though. I think for one it's like $5 or something. That's not bad at all. Give me hummus. So notice this like little thing up here. So this is just an appetizer for the future. So you see the nounproject.com/search and then $Q equals hummus. So Q is universal for query. Anytime you see a Q in a URL, it usually stands for query. So the query string is hummus, which is what I entered into the search bar, and I is no idea. It's up to them. All right, download G. Query comments. There we go. Let's grab that. All right. Alright, so here's a little icon. And anyone check out GIMP? GIMP? The free image editor. Long time ago. There we go. So we have our icon. Our team. And let's do a link relation. It's not a style sheet. It's an icon. And it's located in the img/icon.png. Awesome. So now we have our little hummus icon, which is black, like my background or my theme. And what are we going to do today? Let's check out the Bootstrap JavaScript. Let's make a grid layout. Alright, so I already have my container from my template. Now let's make we'll make the whole thing a grid layout with maybe like 3 different types of hummus in a row, and then, I don't know, maybe throw in a carousel or something. So make a row, call medium 12. This is for the main header, and I'm going to say hummus bar, which I guarantee is taken. I'm almost certain that there is. Yeah, I'm sure. Whatever. They'll buy our website. So hummus bar LA. Do we want the icon on the left or the right? Awesome. So add my img tag. The source is img/icon.png, and we'll say hummus bar LA as the alternate text. And let's see what that looks like. Hey, we got hummus. I'm going to give that a class of icon, and then we'll style that in CSS. So dot icon height 80 pixels. Hey, that's a little bit better. Now let's center that bad boy. Did I ever show you Bootstrap's class to center things easily? I'll take that as a no. So, like I said on Friday, Bootstrap is just a ton of pre-written CSS for you to use. They say in their documentation, which is all this, they say how to use it, so you don't have to go through the code and read it. So they say, hey, if you make a column extra small with 6, then it's going to be responsive and so forth. But there are also really cool other classes. Okay, pick up a few. Text center. There we go. So if we wanted to align text to the left, center it, align it to the right, justify it, or not wrap it, then Bootstrap creates classes for that. Also, if we wanted to make something all lowercase, all uppercase, or capitalize everything, Bootstrap has classes for that too. So let's use, there we go. So we'll center it. And let's see what happens if we do text center. And make that a little bit bigger. There we go. And there we go. So we got a centered hummus bar LA. Let's change that text to be a little bit bigger. Let's change the overall back, or like the whole file text. So I'll go to Google Fonts. We'll just take one out of there real quick. And I'm looking for something nice and thin today. Feature. Josephine. Now we get to Josephine. Let's see. How do you get not just that font? Ah, here we go. So if you want fonts to be bold or have a different font weight, it's called font weight, the thickness. So if you want it to have a different font weight, then you have to specify what thickness you want of the font. By default, it's 400. For instance, let me do this. So let me say, I'll put at the top, body, I'll do font weight, 100. So 100 is going to be very thin font. So if I refresh, there we go, super duper thin. If you want that, that's cool. But if you don't, you can always change it. So font weight, it goes from 100 all the way down to 900. So 9 being super thick, so let's see, 900, that's as thick as it gets. And then according to Google Fonts, Lite is 300. So let's check out 300. I could do it. So if I wanted to use that, then I would have to specify to import it. So if I click Lite 300, then the embed will change a little bit. It'll say Josephine Sans and then 300, 400. Meaning I'm not only importing the normal sized font, but I'm also importing the lighter weight font, which is very important. Also, we might use bold, so I'm going to go down here and check the bold. So there we go. We have regular, bold, and I guess it has different things for italic. So maybe if we're going to use italic text too, we'd have to import that. So all of those, let's check out the embed. Load time moderate. So the only thing with this is that you add more load time when you import a whole bunch of fonts, because again, you're going to a server, you're downloading all these fonts, and then you're displaying it on the page. So let's see what happens. There we go. So load time's slow if you import a whole bunch of fonts. So you don't want to do that. There we go. I wonder if it gets to critical. I don't know. Curiosity. There we go. Okay, fast, moderate, and then really bad. Okay, cool. So let's embed it. But there are two ways to import fonts. You could either import it in HTML like this, Or notice right here there's an @import, which will import it into your CSS file, which is really neat. So check this out. Here, this is an HTML tag, right? It's style. Now inside of it, we have this weird like @import, which we've never seen before, and then URL, and then some URL. So the style tags mean anything inside here is CSS, so this has to be CSS. So I'm going to copy that and just slap it into the top of my page. Now, our linter says, it brings up a warning. Warnings are fine. It just says like, hey, be caution. That import prevents parallel downloads. Use the link instead. Don't use import. But it doesn't really matter. It still works. And some employers prefer you to do it this way, and then it makes your HTML file a little bit thinner, so you don't have to come in here and then make sure you import it here and do the link like Google fonts, and so on. So there we go. Also, the imports, you pretty much always want to keep them at the top of the page. Now we have an error, right? Errors are bad, warnings are fine. It's like, warning, hey, like, be advised. But imports should be always at the very top. The first line should be imports. If you have multiple imports, then just group them all together at the top, and that's fine. So, awesome. If we take a look at this, we have family Josefin Sans, 300, 400, 400 italics, and 700. Awesome. So how do we use it? Well, specifying CSS, font family, yada, yada, yada. Awesome. So anything in the body will have a font weight of 300 and have Josefin Sans. There we go. Looking pretty good. That maybe we could make a little bit bigger. So I'm going to target the company name. What do you call it? Video heading. Font size of 30 pixels. And then I'm going to make a heading. Good idea. Heading. There we go. So there we go. That's looking a lot better already. We have a nice big hummus bar LA going on. Cool. Questions so far? Yes. Yeah. So the font family is like Arial times New Roman, and the font weight is how thick it is. So if we want it to be really thin, we can make a font weight of 100, and if you want it to be bold, it's 900. But similarly, you could also do font weight bold, which is the exact same thing as saying font weight 700. And then font weight light. Right. Why are we doing the 300, 400, and all of that? Yeah. This is to import it. That's all that does. If I didn't have this in the body, then it would just be Times New Roman everywhere. Yeah. Because in CSS, or in anything programming, nothing happens unless you tell it to happen. So here on line 1, all we're doing is importing Josefin Sans, but we're not using it anyway. So if you never use it, then you have, well, now just the default Bootstrap font. Let's see. It might like do something. Or it might not. Let's see. So that was a 500, and we got, I don't think that's Josefin. So let's do the 300, save it. That looks a little bit different, right? There. Yeah. Let's do ID text. We'll test that. Font, size, the font weight. 500. Right. Because there are a million ways to do the exact same thing. Yeah, you could either do font weight 300 or I think it might be lighter. Here, why don't I show you in W3 Spheres? Font weight. So normal is it by default. And yeah, here. So it defines from thin to thick characters. 400 is the same as normal. 700 is the same as bold. So you could either use 400 or normal. But Google Fonts doesn't give you the option to click normal. It's either 400, 700, like only by the number. And why is it like 400? Or like why is it like in the hundreds? I have no idea. Why isn't it like 1 through 9? I don't know. Is that your question? Okay, awesome. Yeah. 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 Because we don't want to import every like 100, 200 through 900 if we're not going to use it. So right here, we're doing this little test to see if we have a font weight of 500. And maybe 900 would be a better test. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, that's why. Because let's say I wanted to make something bold and I'd never import the 700, then I wouldn't have access to the correct bold font. Okay. Italics. Yep. Because I checked that too. Because we might want something in italics. You never know. Alright. So on line 1, it's just importing, and then we specify where to use it. So this again is the exact same thing as if we imported it in HTML like we did before. So again, multiple ways to do the exact same thing. You could either import the font into HTML or you could import it into CSS. Okay. All right, so let's do 300 and spacing. That's not cool. All right, so let's add some images, some hummus images with a carousel. So a carousel is a really fun thing to add in your website. So it looks like this. You can hit the left or right arrow, click on these little icons. So let's say we want it, you just copy it, and we'll just slap it in. Let's see how that looks. Terrible, very bad. Okay, that's fine because there are no images in there to be displayed. So why don't we add some of, you guessed it, hummus images. Now there, maybe I should shoot myself in the foot. Why not? So let's say I want this image and this one. So here I'm going to take this link, and then I'm going to find wherever the image source is. Here it is. And I'm going to paste that in there. And go and grab my other URL and paste that in the other source area. So save that. Refresh our page. Hey, we got hummus. That's broken. Go next. Oh, that looks very terrible. That image is huge. That image is small. What is going on here? Well, this has to do with Bootstrap and how they handle images for you in their carousel. So when using a carousel, really you want the images to have the exact same resolution. So in this case, this image is not the same resolution as this one. So what you could do with that, or what you could do about that, is you can say go to Google Images, type in hummus, go to search tools, and then you could choose a certain size. So you could say larger than these resolutions. So let's do 1024 is 768, 1024, 768. And then here we go. All of these images are the exact same size. So here, if I hover over 1024 is 768, 1024 is 768, and so on. So that's going to make my carousel look a lot better. So we'll take that one, we'll take that, we'll just snag 4 of them. Anyone getting hungry yet? Yeah. You've never had hummus? Oh, uh-oh, accidentally closed one. Oh, no. Okay, cool. So I'm going to take this image and just paste it in. So there's one. Take this one. Ooh. So because there are only 2 placeholders, I want to copy this. So I'm going to remove that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, the shortcut to duplicate code is Command-Shift-D on a Mac, Control-Shift-D on a Windows. Boom, paste that in. And last but not least, we have that. All right, let's check it out. Hummus bar LA. Boom. Hey, those are huge images. That's fine. So there we go. And then even if you click over here, you can kind of speed up the process. You can click on, oh, there are only 3 dots. I wonder why that is. We'll check into that in a bit. I wonder what these 3 dots have to do with. We'll check that out as well. So the first thing really that I want to do is scale the carousel so that everything's the same size. So I can say every image that's inside of the carousel. Yeah. So every image, how do we say something that's inside of item? There we go. So what this is saying is every IMG tag that is a child of the item class. So IMG is inside of item. And then I want to change the height to 600 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Refresh. All right, let's see what's going on. So really the only problem with using frameworks is it might not be as intuitive as you think to like manipulate things. Has anyone found that out the hard way through like trying to change something in Bootstrap, like the Bootstrap navbar, changing the colors of that or anything? Yeah, it's a pain, right? Like, what do you select? Like, it's not working. So that's really the only problem with using a library or framework to do something, is that you have to understand that specific library and how it works. So maybe it's not the image height that I want to change. Maybe it's the actual, what's it called? Carousel. So let's see if we can change it. Here we go. We have the image. What is this line height one? Here our little command is being overwritten by something, by this height of auto. I don't know if that did it. Yeah, I'm debugging because my carousel, I'll make it a little bit smaller, like maybe 300, so we can kind of see. So yeah, I'm just debugging. And really, I'm going to break your guys' heart right now, but programming is about 80% debugging, about like 10% writing code, and then the other 10% planning what you're doing. Like, yeah. But you, like, every time you change something, something else gets messed up. So, and there's, oh, what a very great background. So, kind of words to live by. I have like geeky backgrounds that change every day, so that's kind of cool, convenient. But yeah, so programming is 80% debugging. It doesn't go always according to plan. Like right now, what's this giant white gap over here? Like, why isn't it like 300 pixels? What's going on? So you have to go in and figure it out. So I'm gonna inspect it again, and maybe it's according to width. Okay, so it looks like the width has something to do with it. So what if I put my entire carousel inside of a row? Where does my carousel end? And carousel. Okay, and then I'm going to say close the div. And that's going to end my column, and this is going to end my row. So I'm just making it a little bit easier for me to understand. Now it's giving me an error because I haven't started a column. So I'm going to do that right now. So div.call, medium, let's say 6. And then we'll also give that a call medium offset of 3. So that way it's kind of centered. Hey, that's already looking a whole lot better. I'm digging it. So it looks like the carousel scales automatically according to the like the container that it's in. So because before it just had a full width of the page to work with. So that's why it had that empty space on the side. And there you go. It's already looking pretty darn good. As for these, I don't know. Another thing is we have 4 images and not 3. So I'm going to check out the indicators, and here we have a little bit of code. Let me go through. Okay, so this is where you start the carousel. We see div ID carousel example generic, carousel slide, and these classes have to do with the code itself. Like maybe if I remove slide, will that remove the automatic like sliding? I think so. Pretty sure. Oh, it just like changed automatically. But normally it should like gradually slide over. Yeah. Yeah, you could do that too, to where you click it, it goes to like the next one. Yeah, you could totally change this if you wanted to. Here, let's go deeper into it. Optional captions if you want to add some text like hummus 1 or whatever. A description about it. Here in JavaScript, you can change the interval. So this is in milliseconds, so every 2 seconds, then change the image. Or you could set it to like every half second, or like 10 milliseconds. Like you could change a lot of things in JavaScript. You can have your own custom previous and next buttons as well. But that's all part of the JavaScript part. But if because we're not in JavaScript, and if you still want to play around with the carousel, then you can. And these images aren't showing up because of some weird reason. But here, Bootstrap gives you like comments. So here it says indicators. Okay, what are the indicators? Well, they're the little circles at the bottom. So if I duplicate that and then slide to 3. Refresh it, and boom. That'll take me to the last hummus picture. So now we got that going on. Now this ... well, that's a comment. So if you look in the code, you see ... but that's the alternate. We don't really care about that. Oh, look at that. So we'll call that one, I don't know, Mexican style. Fajitas galore. That's it? Okay. We'll call this one table manners. And this one hummus. So there you go. You got Mexican style, you got fajitas galore, you got table manners, and you got hummus. Yeah, pretty cool, right? If you wanted to change it or put this in a different place, then you could do that too. If instead of these circles you wanted something else, the world is your oyster. All I'm doing is checking out the code and seeing what does what, essentially. So here we see the SR only. That stands for screen reader only. So really, if you take this out, then it won't change anything visually. It's just for when people who can't see, they again have that screen reader that reads the entire page to them, and it'll read previous, next. So don't worry about changing that. And then here we see glyph icon, chevron left, which is not being displayed, which should be here. Yeah. And so let's say we wanted to change the text of this. Let's see, we'll do that and then move on. So I'll inspect it just to see what is targeting it. So here I have this div with the class of carousel caption. Awesome. I think it's just, yeah, just a normal size. So if you wanted to change it, then here it's called carousel caption, but we don't want to overwrite the default carousel caption because then every carousel caption is going to be overwritten. So we're going to create our own custom class. And again, this is called class extending, and we're going to call it custom caption, for lack of a better class name. Exactly, yeah. Unless, oh, you just hold down on a Windows, you hold down the control key, and then you just click wherever you want. And then it creates all those little, every time. Yeah. On a Mac, it's command. Yeah. Just command. Yeah, command and then click everywhere. And you can start typing awesome stuff. So, let me target that. Custom caption, we'll give it a font size of 20 pixels. And we'll do a, I think it has, hey, that already looks better. And then you could change the text shadow and everything. So, a lot of fun stuff. Even like when you hover over this, it gets like a little bit dark. You could change that as well if you wanted to. A lot of fun stuff that you can do with this. All right, let's check out maybe a popover. Yeah, that is actually. So if you wanted to add a popover to a code, you could do that as well. Maybe let's do a modal. Ooh, with the menu, that'll be fun. So again, a modal is just that, like, cool little animation that slides down. Ooh, we're gonna add animate.css. It's gonna get fun. Right. So let's just copy that code as is, this launch demo modal, and we are going to play with it. Let's maybe put it like to the right, like over here somewhere, like menu. We could do that. So here, instead of column medium 12, I could do column medium, let's do 6, column medium offset by 3, and then that means we have 3 extra columns to work with. So again, this offset is just like doing this, div.column medium 3, and just leaving it empty. So as a matter of fact, I could just do that, and then what do you place the row? Okay. And then div call medium maybe 2. 1. Okay, so 3 plus 6 is 9, plus 2 is 11, plus 1 is 12. So we have all bases covered, and over here is where we're going to put our modal. Oh, that's a lot more than I thought. So there we go. I'm going to add just a little note, end modal, just so I know where it ends. I like to give it a bit of spacing as well. There we go. So button trigger modal, all right? Button, type of button, button primary. Okay, so that tells me like the coloring of it. And then here, data target equals # my modal. What could that be? Hey, it's just a CSS selector. The # is for ID. Here we have the ID of my modal. So that means that these two have to match. So I'll call this idea of menu modal instead. You don't have to change it, but it's preferred. It's a lot more professional to change things from the default. So let's first check out what it looks like. Hey, we got our launch demo modal. Hey, modal title, ... save changes, doesn't do anything, and close. Awesome, looking very cool. I'm digging it. All right. Maybe instead of launch demo modal, we'll just do menu. Hey, looking good. Got our menu. So now what we want to change is this modal title up here. So in my code, I'm going to find wherever it says modal title, and right here, hey, modal title. We'll change that to menu. And I want to center it, so I'm going to give it a class of text-center, which will put it in the middle. So menu, and we got menu in the middle. And also I want to get rid of the save changes button. I don't want that there. So wherever it says save changes, goodbye. And here's that ... for the modal body. So what can we put in here? Anything. Let's put hummus menu. I'm just going to steal a menu real quick. Ooh, you know what? Hummus bar LA. Words over the picture. Oh, that'll be too hard. I'd rather do that in Photoshop or GIMP. Yeah, clever. Definitely would want to do that, but not right now. Good thinking. We could, however, change the background of this if we wanted to. That's always a thing you could do. Let's, for simplicity, we'll just take this image and we'll paste that into the body, and let's hope for the best. Don't know what's going to happen, but that's how it works. Like I said, 90% debugging. Menu, whoa, that's terrible. What is going on there? Right? So again, debugging. What do? Well, we have an image that's overflowing. How do we make it like fit into its container? Oh, this is annoying. Well, anyone remember the Bootstrap class that I used before to make an image responsive and fit into its column? Oh, let's say, yeah, image responsive. Yeah, so if you didn't know that, you could just type in Bootstrap, because that's the language or framework we're working with. So Bootstrap fit image in column. Hey, adjusting the image size to fit a div. Yeah. Okay. You could do that. Here we go. Try it this way. Give it a class of image responsive, even though they didn't say it. That's not the best. But if you do, here we go. Simply add the class img responsive to your image tag. It's an application. It's applicable in Bootstrap 3 onward. Good luck. So, awesome. Let's do that. So, img, we'll give it a class of image responsive. So now, refresh, menu. Hey, looking good. So it fits. And we have our menu. If we wanted to, we could have used a Bootstrap table. For instance, this. Why don't we do that as well? Or maybe instead. So the Bootstrap tables, here we have just a basic table. There's a table tag with the class of table. So this gives it a whole bunch of different styling. Striped rows, I don't know if you could see it, but this row is a little bit darker than this row, and this row is darker as well. You can have a bordered table, hover rows, so if you hover over the row, it has a little bit of a color change to it. And of course, you can customize any of that. So you can change the borders to be thicker, different types. When you hover over something, you could change the color of it. And then a condensed table is more squished together, less spacing in between each thing. And then, of course, you have the active, success, info, warning, danger, which just gives it certain colors. So why don't we do a condensed table? And of course, you can customize it. So you can make a condensed table that changes the color when you hover over it. So we'll take that, copy, and that's not very helpful. How do you make a row? Well, let's see. Does it really not have... Okay. Sure. So tables have what? Rows and columns, right? So the exact same way you declare a Bootstrap row and column or grid, you declare a table. So first you want to make a row with a tr tag, and then inside of that you want to, let's say, what's the layout of it? Where's our menu? So we'll do the food, the price, and the description. The food, description, and the price? Yeah, why not? Food, description, and the price. So table row. Table data times 3 for food, description, price, and we'll copy that like 3 times. So first one, we have the Mexicano, some Lauren 20 for the description, and that one's going to be 30 to 40. I don't know the price on this. Fajitero, that's going to be Lauren 10, and that's $12.99. And the hummus, Lauren 4, and that's going to be $3.98. And we'll see how that looks. So again, table, table row, and table data. So check it out, refresh, menu. Hey, looking pretty spiffy there. If we wanted to make this bold, we can. Why? Because we imported the bold, whatchamacallit, the bold font. So how can you do that? So many ways. Why don't we try targeting the first table data after the tr tag? How would that work, right? Would that be the most logical? Because I don't want to give each of these a class. To me, that would be kind of annoying. I'd rather just know that the first thing is always going to be the food, and then I want to make that always bold. So I'm going to say the first TD after the TR tag. So how do you do that? Well, CSS, target first child. First child selector. Alright. Cool. Select and sell every P element that is the first child of its parent. Okay, so in this case it'd have to be TD first child. Let's check it out. So TD is going to be the first child of the TR. So let's check TD. First child, background color yellow. Why not? Just a test. Refresh, menu. Hey, we got it. So pretty cool. like I said, there are tons of CSS selectors, and you don't have to always use classes and IDs, which kind of gets annoying after a while. Like I did not want to give each of these a different class, so I just use this. And we want to do, 1 second, text weight, font weight, text weight, font weight. We could do, I wonder if bold will automatically be 700, or do I have to specify 700? Let's find out. Bold. So refresh, menu, hey, it works. So it's automatic. Awesome. And of course, you could always target the last child too. Like say you wanted to underline the price or make it smaller so they think they're not spending that much, right? All these like subliminal things for them. Because I could bet you they not only have first child, but they have last child. I'm assuming. There's everything out there. Question? For this? Oh yeah, this, there should not be any space. It's just like the hover pseudo class. Remember when we did like say td:hover? So when you hover over any table data, then you could say like background be this color. Yeah. So they're just pseudo classes that you tap on. And the only reason why I knew that is because I looked it up and I read the description of it. So select and style every P element that is the first child of its parent. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Might have another example. So here's the syntax of it. So something goes to the left of this and then colon first child. And then, yeah, here's another example. Yeah. So there are plenty of ways to go about it. Oh, select and style the first element of every UL. That's another way to go about it. So why don't I do that? So the first child of every UL element. So instead of targeting the TD, I could have done the TR. Let me just paste that in. Instead of UL, it should be TR. So yet another way to do the exact same thing, right? And then change the font weight to bold. These two do the exact same thing. Or instead of TR, let's say we gave every table row its own class, like dot, menu item. Then that would target any first child of something with the class of menu item. So what I would have to do there is give each of these table rows a class of menu item. So many ways to do the same thing. Let's put that back to T. Yeah. You'd know. Like chances are you're not going to use one that like you could invent your own classes. Like I've never had a conflict. Like I've never made my own class and then had it conflict with Bootstrap's class. Yeah, because like I would never guess to use like text center. Like maybe that's why it's text center for Bootstrap and not center text. So yeah, or like table condense instead of condensed table. Like maybe that's why they do it. But when you work with a framework for long enough or Bootstrap, then you just kind of know what the different classes are, and there really aren't that many. Like when you're dealing with the table, there are like 5 different ones. Like anytime active, so you've already learned these 5. Yeah, 5. Yeah, and then IMG responsive. Like I would never come up with that. Yeah, good question. Question in the back? Yeah.